Yurt. This is the first time I'm doing this. This is a little weird, but I figured I don't care anymore. Because a bunch of teen millionaires' opinions are incredibly fucking interesting to me. And these are about to be some of the most unhinged takes on the planet.
Anyone can make themselves a millionaire.
It's possible for them to do it, no?
It's possible, but to say anyone?
Right.
How are people
yeah.
going
Oh my God, how
to,
are
in
other
a third
people,
world
like,
country,
it's
make
all
money to
dudes
be a
on this side,
millionaire?
so
Maybe
When
they'll get out of the country.
The white. How, brother? You need to have money to get out of the country, my boy.
you can't just get out of the
I
country.
understand
I'm
that.
somebody.
I could like already tell she's gonna be like the only person with sane takes. I'm gonna immediately try to judge who earned it, who didn't earn it, earned it.
I would only date a millionaire.
Damn. Bro, the white privilege emanating off of this dude and this dude is insane. I feel like this is like a pretty easy no question or like disagree question regardless of where you stand on the spectrum. It does make some sense to be on this end of the spectrum in my opinion if you're like particularly generationally wealthy. And in my opinion, you don't even need to be on that end of the spectrum if you are generationally wealthy. I think it's a silly mentality, but regardless.
I've been with girls who have money and it's like the worst thing ever. Like for example, like the one thing for me, and it's a test I do, is like, for example, if a girl knows how to get into my car, if they figure it out, that's the last that's
This dude is so fucking weird. This dude is trust fund coded.
the last date. Seriously, that's the last date we're going on.
Business
The worst thing ever.
consultant.
Like for
An
figure it out.
entrepreneur.
I don't know if men really are comfortable with that, to be completely honest. From my personal
I'm so
experience, they're
comfortable with
not.
that.
They want to be the ones providing, which kind of
don't give a
sucks.
fuck.
But, you know, personality
Please.
and morals and like their mindset is way more important than money.
Please
I feel like money
provide.
doesn't for your personality, not your looks, not your money. I
Reality
don't care
TV
from
star,
personal experience.
absolutely.
Money has absolutely nothing
believe you.
to do with a relationship.
As a woman, I don't want to be the one paying the bills and taking care of their house. And so
That's
for me,
true.
like, you don't have to be the richest person in the world. But if I'm gonna be a millionaire or multimillionaire or whatever it is, I at least want to be the person that encourages you to do the same. But I don't want to be, I've had it done before and it's been the most exhausting thing because it's like, you can be the sweetest man ever, but if we go out and I'm paying for everything.
The millionaires all moved to the left because they don't want to look like douchebags, and then one person disagreed, and then they all moved. It is just about like, no, it feels weird if we're at a different income level.
And I'm doing everything, it's too much. That's why I'm just like, I somewhat
That's
agree.
the more reasonable perspective in my opinion, but it's still like crazy.
I think girls want to be taken care of. I think that's a beautiful thing. I've always just been the one to take care of girls and pay for everything. I think
It's a very millionaire trust fund boy mentality, like conservative mentality. Also CEO of digital development
as a
firm.
guy, you should be doing that.
But I mean, on this topic, my point is you
As a
brought up
guy,
something
this is so-
of saying, oh, if the girl doesn't know how to open up my car
cares?
door, I wouldn't even date her.
Crypto entrepreneur is like 17. So broke at 32 is what they're trying to say there. I don't, the whole like gender role providing bullshit is just like so aged.
I feel like, you know, I feel like it's ever so selfish because you feel
Instead of
like,
building
oh, I want to
dollars.
get happiness by making this girl, you know, spending money on her. But at the same time, I feel like the only binding factor in your relationship is money at that point.
Girls will want to go on dates with you because you can take them to that dinner. You know, they want all of that. So I feel like that's very common that they will use you for that. Thing I'm scared of, you know, like it's happened to me.
Well, only is crazy wording. It's just like, dog, you have bread and they want to feel provided for. That's really all it is. If you're a millionaire and you're like making them drive everywhere themselves, you can't split anything. You're insane.
To you because
It's
you have
all
the Lambo, because
really-
you make the money,
Yeah, exactly.
and they
To
don't
be
care
honest,
about
strongly
you.
disagree.
You know, so that's what I was
The
kind
question is, you will only date a millionaire.
of going at. I like a girl who just doesn't care
Like,
about money at
if you're making $100K a year, fuck out of here. But you can provide for yourself, fuck out of here.
all, you know?
Something that I do whenever I meet people is I don't tell them my name. I don't tell them my Instagram. I don't want them to be able to search me up, know how much money I make, know where I live, and know the lifestyle that I live because
Yeah.
that's how I avoid people using me for money.
You know, it's kind of test, you know? Like,
Yeah, there's other ways to avoid gold digging. I don't know, his perspective on it is just very like rudimentary.
So, do you know if you could teach me how to trade? And I'm like, okay. And it's just like dread the rest
there's no
of the
way
night.
that's happening.
No.
Like, there's a guy
He
that
like pulls out like a notebook.
It's
He's
like the
ready.
number one thing. I am the biggest secret that you've probably never heard, which is okay because it's a secret. My net worth is about $20 million.
What do you think
Sheesh.
makes you a great entrepreneur?
My relentlessness to never give up. I've never believed that I couldn't.
You could just tell by the way that she carries herself that she's like in an upper echelon of business. You know what I mean? It's like personable while simultaneously like revealing nothing of the self.
Do anything. Even in the cases where it was probably not the most likely, I've just always worked towards it, saying one day it's gonna come, and I think that work ethic and tenacity just continue to compound and roll over and
No, great for her, but she has like such corporate mentality. It's insane.
snowball itself into
Like at her age, 21 is
what I
nuts.
have today.
It is easier to make money if you're white.
Absolutely. The disagrees are all white. Fucking. I wonder why this spectrum cut off this way. The lady in the middle is like waiting for the minorities to pick so she could decide. Oh my god. She's like, I hate her in the middle. She's the worst one so far. She's just like backing shit that like sounds okay.
The mentor is not white, and he's worth $204 million.
Wow. So one outlier example. Fantastic.
So I think I've seen it firsthand. You know,
Wow.
most of my friend group is not whites, and they do very well for themselves.
Majority-wise, if you look at just the demographic of the United States, you know, whenever you think of trust fund babies, whenever you think of houses in the Hamptons,
Wealth is generational, and historically speaking, there's been minority groups who've been stricken from being able to receive generational wealth for quite a long time, and due to people
whenever you think of that
like
luxury life, with
these
what the
guys on
majority.
that end of the
And
spectrum.
they do very well for
and
themselves.
For example, when slavery was a thing, white people had a 200-year head start to start their businesses, to set up their families for
reparation.
success and all that. So when black people finally had the opportunities, which was not until recently, 1965,
His mentor that he's talking about should be twice as wealthy,
to really be.
unless obviously there's exploitation existing in his business, which is also more than likely at his pay grade.
White people are taken as more serious because of the stereotypes that have been put on
100%.
people of color. Not saying that people of color cannot be successful.
The argument that these three white people are going to make are going to be like, well, that's kind of like inherently racist, isn't it? Like, that's to say that other minorities can't, that minorities can get money. And it's like, well, no, that's not what that means. It means that the world has been set up for people like you guys to get money, not them, unfortunately.
Just saying that it's more likely for
Like
someone
the crypto billionaire in the middle, like,
who is white to have better opportunities than someone who isn't.
thank you for
I
moving.
mean, maybe in past generations, what you're saying is 100% true. I don't have to have any face on the products I create.
But that's significantly harder. And either way, why is your alternative like, hey man, you don't even have to put your face out there?
I agree. Your face doesn't always have to be tied to it. So, I mean, she changed my
But he's just looking for Eddie out to go right back to strongly disagree.
mind a little bit because I feel like I was a little bit too harsh because you did make like a really good point. Statistically, you were 150% correct. Like you were right.
Right, so why are we not basing our conversation on statistics?
We forget that not everybody's job is online and not everybody's job.
Correct.
You can hide behind a screen, and most people
Right.
work everyday jobs in person doing, customer service where people
100%.
have to look at them. So I think if we're talking about if it's easier to make money as a white
Right,
person, I would
yeah,
say
like-
yes.
All these people's perspectives on making money are trust fund children or like a YouTuber or I guess reality TV star. It's so crazy because like they're like, oh, what do you mean? You could just like make money on the internet. It's like, no, dog. Most people are working at like Costco.
Most of the time, if they go into an interview and they're a person of color, they're probably less likely to get that job than a white person. And also, a white person is probably going to get paid more than a person of color.
Precisely.
We've seen it in the statistics.
or
So I
just a
think it
woman.
is easier to make more money as a white person.
100%.
Indians make the most amount of money in America when it comes to any racial demographic group, which is great. So shout out to the Indians. My father, and he said, Jay, if I were you, I would highly recommend staying behind the scenes and letting a white man run the business because they get along with people a little bit better than we do, just because people don't understand Indians. But even in that, you could,
Yeah, no, there's tons of people who are racist against people that are in power, right? Like, unfortunately, a lot of, again, wealth is generational. So a lot of that generational wealth comes from racist ass people who are able to capitalize on wrong or just general worker exploitation, which is why when you see someone like him in business, people are going to get the stank on him because he is, unfortunately, an outlier.
I'm Jay. I'm the CEO and principal of Bodaire. A quick 30-second.
What the fuck is Oh, dare.
Started programming at the age of 9. At 11, I started freelancing. I got my first contract with a local salon to build their website. And then at 14 is when I got my first large contract with a Fortune 500 company. At 15, I dropped out of high school to pursue my agency full time. And at 18, I moved to Dallas, Texas. I'm originally from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
That's insane. That's like the most, like, your parents workhorse the fuck out of you. I would love to see age 0 parents started with $100 million for like all these people.
From Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
I'm Isabella, and I am a
16.
designer, entrepreneur, and reality TV star. I started out on reality TV on the show Toddlers and Tiaras. I was 6 years old when I was named one of the youngest self-made millionaires, which was a suit and blazer line. Sold that to JCPenney for private labeling. Started a jewelry company where you wins accomplishment bracelets. I created House of Bready, which is now my global business, which has made me more than $1 million now. And I'm also writing a book called A Teen's Guide to Business to show people
like
how to become who I am today.
I have flaunted my wealth.
I need to know this kid in the back's family situation, because this kid has got to be like the most wealthy fucking family on the planet, and then he just like doesn't get it, doesn't talk, sneaks away, but then found a way to make money through crypto. Everybody else is pretty much just influencers or like inherited large companies from family. I mean, she might be self-made considering how she runs and is described, but even I feel like if you're carrying yourself a certain way at 18, it's crazy. And then obviously like reality TV bread. These two have got to have like the most like conservative home situations. It's crazy. That's like all I could think about over there.
I was bullied
why are you
as
so
a kid,
on the fence every
so
fucking
flaunting
time?
my wealth.
She's saying she doesn't flaunt her wealth, and she's dressed very like upper class wealthy, which is kind of crazy. She might not anywhere else, but I have a feeling she just doesn't know that she's wealthy.
And like,
Where she
I feel like
is.
I don't flaunt it, but like, I've worked very hard.
You're proud.
Yeah, I'm proud of it,
Sure.
exactly.
Do you ever feel
There's-
guilty doing that?
Depending on your home situation, you probably should.
Because sometimes I
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
Because in my like,
Oh my-
I just
Somewhat
like my
agree is fair.
mindset. It's not like we're trust fund kids. We worked
Yeah.
for it.
Anyone?
I'm very interested to know if that's the case with everybody.
I wish.
No.
No.
I wish.
Okay, continue.
You don't necessarily need the trust fund to be wealthy through family. It's more of a catch-all term. I feel like you don't get the opportunity to, just because that kind of deflection's interesting to me. You don't get to sign a contract with a Fortune 500 company and freelance at 11 or start programming at 9 without some generational wealth. It's all on a spectrum, right? Interesting enough. Realistically speaking, you don't get to be a reality TV star and start a company unless there's some generational wealth put into it. Toddlers and Tiaras, for instance. I don't know. Let's see this kid started investing at age 10. The age before you can invest. Started crypto mining, something that you could just do for free.
Around
Good
it,
for
I
them to be
feel
wealthy,
bad
like,
sometimes.
fucking
But at
be
the same time,
honest.
it's not like we're trust fund kids.
I don't do it as much.
I've just posted a video flying first class. Almost every single one of my thumbnails have NYC penthouse in it. So I do,
Thanks for the
I'm in
views.
strongly agree because I do flaunt it. But for me, the reason why I do it is, first of all, it's clickable. Everyone wants to, see how does she do that? But also, people can go back and see how I started and see how I grew myself up to there. And I get a lot
That's
of comments all the
upfront
time
and
being like,
honest.
wow, it's
She's
so
doing a
cool
great
seeing you
job.
grow up from.
There's like
I think
two
the difference for me, instead of
redeemable
feeling like I'm showing
millionaires
off
in
and
this
stuff, is
pack
because
so
I'm showing
far.
people. My name is Mai. I'm a YouTuber, and I'm also the founder of my clothing line, Alchemy. I'm 20 years old now, but I made my first million when I was 18. I've just been
crazy.
doing YouTube for a very, very, very long time, but I feel like when I was younger and I wasn't making that much money, I learned how to budget my money a lot. So honestly, what drives me to do what I do every single day is just to be able to provide for the people around me and to be able to inspire as many creatives as I possibly can. Like, that is my main motive at this point. It's not for financial purposes anymore.
My name is Yusuf,
Again, she seems to be
and I am a
most
crypto
sound.
entrepreneur. I was learning stocks and investing at quite a young age. I'm 10 years old, and I go into drop shipping. And after around maybe like 20 attempts of failed stores, I hit one really big
the Andrew Tate pipeline kid.
hit.
This is literally that, like, the Bill Clinton kid.
And then in 2018, I bought Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other altcoins like Zilliqa and VeChain. And in 2021, I created my own cryptocurrency, and I started helping other people by building their cryptos for them. It was like, you know, it was a level up system. I did this, then I went to that,
So he's like gonna go to prison in like 30 years when people
did that, and
really
I just kept progressing.
I would be a different person if I didn't have this money.
You should all be saying.
3,
you should almost all
2,
be saying yes.
1, go.
You carry yourself like you are a bajillionaire already at 20, bro. Like you would be such a different person. She's been famous since she's like 4, so she probably doesn't even have the understanding. Everybody else I see is moving their way over here, which makes sense.
If I have money or not, I'm still the same person.
I was depressed and I was suicidal, and I think having the money to be able to move myself out of that environment completely changed my life. Having money has boosted my confidence so much, just in a way where I have a nose job, so I was able to do that. And I used to look in the mirror every single day and just cry and cry and cry because I thought I was so ugly. And having money now to be able to live wherever I want, live with whoever I want, and being able to, you know, change things about my appearance. So I think that money completely changed my life, and without it, my personality wouldn't even be the same. Because when I was younger and I was in that toxic household where my parents were arguing about money every single day, that made me such a negative person. I was not the optimistic, positive person that I am today. And I think that having money and getting myself out of that has completely changed my personality.
You know, I would agree money gives you a lot of opportunities, a lot.
I'm interested to hear her response because I think that's the perfect way to synopsize it. And I think she's on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Out of that,
but
has completely changed my personality.
Think should it be?
You know, I would agree that money doesn't change you. It amplifies who you already are. If you're usually a selfish person, you're gonna think everybody sees you for the money for the most part. You're gonna think everyone needs to owe you if you're a cocky person.
I genuinely feel like I'm the same kid as I was when I started programming at the age of 9.
Yeah,
like just a hardworking kid that wanted to make something out of himself.
It just forces you to like groove into a lane, not like to make yourself a character, but like more so like to do the same thing over and over because you're known for something. Especially I would feel like hers should be way over there.
As if I was just in college.
I feel like, I don't know, maybe there's an alternate version of yourself that wasn't successful. If you go look at that, have a conversation with that person, you can't say, oh, me and him are the same. I feel like to be
right, yeah, 100%.
Strongly disagree is a bit too harsh.
Crypto kid's spitting right now, believe it or not.
I feel like, you know, experiences have definitely shaped your being, right?
Right now, my best friends in high school are like cracking like 100 beers a day and like posting on their Snapchat story. It's like, I would be with them right now.
Maybe I'll go to someone disagree.
I had a question.
Yeah.
You've been talking about work ethic a lot, but do you think that it's changed your confidence or the way
I think
you
it should be
view
at
certain
least
things?
a somewhat degree.
Aside from work, do you think it's changed you?
Work ethic, I think, is single-handedly the most important thing when it comes to any success in life. Like, I used to be a very chubby and overweight guy. I got my shit together and dropped my ignorance, did all the research, and I ended up getting in a really good shape. So that all really just comes from your work ethic at the end of the day.
Work ethic and opportunity. Again, all these people probably had opportunities before the age. Like, if these people were all in their 30s and 40s and saying this, it would all make sense. But unfortunately, a lot of them are in the age 17 to 22, and I'm around the same age watching this, right? But it's just like even me being able to afford the ability to do this is tremendously privileged compared to some people. You don't necessarily go right into child beauty pageants or like I don't know, like being the CEO of an e-learning firm. Like what? If your situation is a traditional bring up. Again, if they were like in their 40s and they lived through to this age and maybe a little bit longer, like I would say like even 25, 26, they should all be. And then if they were saying all this, it would track. She's really the only person that I've heard that, I mean, there's like, he was honestly, Crypto Kid was spitting, I just don't want to give him credit. But she's been solid this whole go around. You could tell that she had a more traditional upbringing, but it kind of like trickles into like people understand like, yeah, I'm different because I like went to a normal high school, you know, or some people are just like, oh no, like I've been a pageant kid since 4, or like, oh no, like I've probably been I forget what her shtick was, but she was like, she said she's been a CEO. I'm the best kept secret, but I'm worth $20 million, and I can't tell you what I do. That sounds legit. I don't think she'd quite have the same childhood as even maybe her, but like just again someone who like went to high school, worked like a 9 to 5, went to college for 2-3 years and dropped out. You know, like that's not the same person.
And so for a lot of people, they don't have the opportunities, they don't have the freedom, they don't have the breathing room. So every single day is just chasing money and living paycheck to paycheck. When you
It is deeper than that.
do have money, you can take the step back and be like, okay, all of that's taken care of. Let me focus on me, let me focus on my relationships, let me focus on repairing things. So I think that's a really big privilege that I think we do have.
And that comes with money. And I think when you were able to do that, because most people aren't able to do that financially until they go to college, pay off all their debt, and financially stabilize and find someone else who's financially stable. So your ability to do that at 14 or 18 changes who you are as a person fundamentally, absolutely.
And I think the connotation is always a bad thing. And that's why people fight so hard for money.
But that's not what the question is. So just because you want to change the perspective on it, you went all the way to one end of the spectrum, even though you agree that it changes you, is insane.
Hasn't changed.
Jubilee is great at getting out people who are so defensive, because it's just like people who are on the other end of the spectrum are like reading into the question and making it a completely different question. And what they're unable to admit is
I think it's just subjective to how we feel individually about it.
So I started making money at the age of 8 from acting and modeling. Then I started making more money.
So again, wealthy parents.
At the age of 10 from YouTube. By the age of 18, I became a millionaire through YouTube AdSense, sponsorships, my brand, and now it is expanding a lot. So it's growing quickly, which is really insane. And I'm still 19. I'm still a teenager.
I am lonely.
In a personal aspect, absolutely. Like, a lot of my friends, we don't do the same things. I love them to death. They have great morals. They're great people. But like,
do you guys think you had a childhood?
No.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah.
What was that?
No.
Not really. No.
I don't think I had a childhood.
You
I also think
reset.
I forced myself to not
You
have
should
a
have
child.
reset and said I had a child. This is what I'm more interested in a conversation of, because all the people were like, no, I'm not a trust fund baby. I wish. Yeah, I started acting and modeling at age 2.
Become somebody, and I need to take care of my family. So
at like 15.
It wasn't
You
the
didn't
whole
start
9
programming
yards.
until 8.
And then I think my childhood really ended probably when I was like in 7th grade.
That's
After
what I'm
that,
saying.
I just was focused a lot on business.
Precisely. Imagine 7th grade. Oh, basically college mode, you know. Imagine starting college in middle school, but like not even graduating.
For me, I didn't really have very much of a childhood because my parents were
Really?
working from morning to night. So that's why I went online to seek a community and people to talk to. I would play games on my PC and stream that to talk to people, and like, you know, she was my parent.
I've thought about it, though. Like, definitely.
Just
Like,
needed to butt into the
sometimes,
conversation
like,
there.
when I call,
No,
like,
she
my
carried that.
friends that are in college and they're telling me, like, their biggest...
She remains, not him. She remains spitting, you know what I mean? Like, she, again, I could tell has the most traditional upbringing out of anybody in here, and, like, is the most, like, self-made out of anybody in here. Again, acting, modeling, age 8. Can't tell you. I'm interested to hear that kid still, but like crypto, which is just a little skeezy, hate to say it. And then I don't know, programming at age 8.
Sometimes, like, when I call, like, my friends that are in college and they're telling me, like, their biggest problem is, like, their history test.
I could resonate there, right? But like the history test is gonna turn out with him working as like a manager at Red Lobster for like the rest of his life, and you're gonna be at least a millionaire at age 19. I honestly think having those types of people around you would benefit you because it humanized you a little.
We all kind of talk.
Not in that you're not human, but in that it'll keep you grounded into where everybody else is, as opposed to only surrounding yourself with people who are wealthy and are like-minded like you.
Comes with it.
Comes with being
Hi,
rich when
I'm
you're
Aaron.
a kid.
I'm
Yeah.
an entrepreneur in the e-commerce space and a business consultant.
Entrepreneur in the e-commerce space. He like sells goods online.
And a business consultant. For a great entrepreneur, you definitely have to.
Yeah, so it's another Andrew Tate build kid is crazy.
So antisocial, I think, is kind of with it. Like when I see people.
I don't think that comes other than also again with generational wealth or an ability to, I don't know, like start an e-commerce business.
People.
You can't like just erect an e-commerce business on the internet without any type of income generationally, you know. There's been one person, and again, it's I forget her name now. Was it like Mai? She seems to have the most traditional and realistic upbringing. As just like, look, like I started making YouTube videos and they started doing well, you know, and that's really that. I think is interesting that like everybody else is like, yep, so like I do crypto, or like, yep, I do drop shipping, or like, yep, I started getting money at like age 4, or like getting ready to make money at like age 8 and since then have been making money.
Anyone can make themselves a millionaire.
This is the one I wanted. Strongly disagree would be me, absolutely. Thank
Really?
you. Only sane people. It's not just does everybody have the drive, which is what everybody around here is gonna be like, everybody has the drive to do it. That's what everybody's gonna say. I don't even need to hear it. I already know. Or at least I know she will say the right thing in that it's all about having the opportunity to do so. Having the financial stability, having a good spawn point, you know, if I wasn't born in, I don't know, America, if all of you weren't born in America, you could have had a traditionally worse spawn point to become a millionaire at fucking 19,000% based upon familial and economic location.
There's so much free advertising, YouTube,
I mean, the reason
everything.
why.
Yeah.
What's your argument to say that not everyone can make themselves a millionaire? Is it the like non-equality thing, or like resource?
Without exploitation, for sure, none of you would be there. But
There are many people that do exactly what we do, but yet you are in the position you're in for a reason. There's a lot of people that build apps and have like a company surrounded by that. There's a lot
that aren't successful or didn't have families that could get them coding by age 8 to be good at it. You know, that costs money.
of people that have done crypto.
Nobody can be making in crypto mining by age 15 without generational wealth. Like what 14-year-old can stabilize themselves on? If like your family isn't doing well enough to keep themselves up, you're not going to have the money to be crypto mining for fun and maybe make $1 million. All of these people are beneficiaries of people of good economic populace. Again, existing just in America alone is significantly more beneficial. So
And now their lives are in shambles.
You should all be over there.
There's a lot of people that have done drop shipping and it was the worst thing they ever did.
Yeah, drop shipping is like oh yeah, thank you. She actually like snapped on that then.
A lot of people that have
I'm
built
glad she
different
moved.
companies and it was
She moved
next
to the complete other end of the
to
spectrum.
nothing, and there's millions and millions of bloggers on YouTube.
But it's still possible for them to do it, no?
It's possible, but to say
It's possible if you have the economic resources to do so to begin with, like you probably did.
anyone,
Yeah, it's she's like, I don't know if I actually want to be friends with these people anymore.
Anybody can, you
I mean,
know?
the reason why, I mean,
Oh my
I also
God.
think I'm very privileged.
This kid needs to be around more of his drinking buddies from high school. That's why he's not friends with them, is because he's going like, bro, just do it.
My mentor, he comes from like the projects.
Oh my God,
Like-
she needs to stop moving, and he needs to stop giving outlier examples, because she is going, well, look, most people can't do it. And he goes, well, look, my really fortunate person that I know did it. Bro, that's not how shit works. Statistically speaking, most people will not do it.
That's where a lot of money is made, but
Thank
a lot of
you.
people don't get granted a visa to come here. Think about the people.
Thank you. She's like the only sane person on this panel.
That don't have internet, they don't have the library to go to get the internet. And also think about the people that from
Honestly, a lot of homeless people are internet connected. It's not even necessarily just the internet. Although, a homeboy talking about India over here should understand that most of the country is just now getting internet connected over there. Some countries banned YouTube. 3 of you are no longer millionaires.
people always say, well, then get a job. But in order to get a job, you need to be able to have a home address, and not everybody has that. It's just those little things that we don't think of.
You need to have so many things in order to just have like a driver's license in the United States, which usually is then enough to get you to get a job. If all of a sudden you can't drive to your job that you go to, you know, like there's a tremendous amount of privilege that comes in just being able, because there's no public transportation in the United States. So believe it or not, you need a vehicle to drive around.
Think about to even get to that first step of getting a job.
Precisely.
I feel like it is possible, but depending on your circumstance, it could be exponentially harder, right? If you're like someone from like Ethiopia who has no internet access, for instance, then of course it's gonna be so much harder, but it's still possible.
But like, you're splitting such a hair. Like, don't let hope die is basically his perspective. And okay, if that's your perspective, that's fine. Then you would be directly in the middle, in my opinion, which is the most centrist crypto take.
What would you recommend they should do?
Right.
I think if you say like it's easier, because I'm Nigerian, I recently just came from Nigeria. They get paid like $100 a month, and that's insane to them. So I feel like if you're gonna say, okay, well, if you don't have internet access, it's still possible, give an example of how it's possible.
I know someone who's actually Nigerian, but then there was a public library he went to, which was like 3 hours away, and then he created cryptocurrency from that. So while I feel like, to say it's
created a cryptocurrency from a public library. Sounds like a legit crypto. It sounds like I'd invest. I mean, good for him. I'm glad that guy made money, but like, oh my lord. He's just like, oh, it's just simple. You just need a computer and then you could start mining crypto. The internet's great, but it's not a catch-all to just make money anywhere you would like. You can't just make money instantly on the internet. That's not how it works. Most of these people who are YouTubers on here, believe it or not, you need to have an AdSense account, and you need to be able to sustain a relationship with YouTube, an ad-friendly relationship with YouTube, in order to make money on it. That doesn't involve copyright strikes or I don't know, really anything else. You know, it's just like the internet is not just I made a crypto and now I'm safe. Now I'm a millionaire. It's like, congrats, you have $1 million, but like, that Nigerian friend that you know that made the cryptocurrency in the public library, he doesn't have a safety net like you do.
Possible, but nothing's 100% possible, right? So I feel like to say there's a type of person that can...
That's fair, and I think that's a fine reason to put yourself on that spectrum, but that's not the conversation that they're looking to have you guys have.
100% can't be a millionaire is very rare.
No matter what outliers that you have, you need to kind of have proof to back that.
And person like a millionaire. That's
a cool.
Right. Yeah. That's an inconceivable amount of money. That's not like that's an American amount of money. You know.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, but anything's possible.
I think
in the United States of your income level, but again, you need to kind of like prove the numbers of people who have those kind of poor economic backgrounds and how often they're able to prove that economic system incorrect and be the outlier, because again, statistically they are still outliers. I have to reference them as such, just as you did. Because of how hard it is to do all those things, you kind of have to look at it and realistically go like, look, not anyone can do that. You kind of need to be bred to a little differently to scrounge together $1 million, not just like fumble into a couple 100,000 or so, even, you know, if you wanted to be fortunate about it. And even still, you kind of have to have the statistics to back your point. You can't just be like, well, it's possible, because anything's possible.
You wouldn't tell them anything's possible, it could go to 100 million.
No.
You would actually back it up with actual like facts and statistics as to why. So when I think of just logically thinking, can anyone become a millionaire?
She's also,
it's like,
surprisingly, even though she has the most wealth in this corner, has some of the more base takes. And I think that becomes with being a woman of color in business, and especially at the level of business that she's in. She is so corporate skulled at her age that it's a little like disorienting. But otherwise, like, she seems to be at least like understanding of economic background, which is important.
You want to back that up, and if you say, I mean, yeah, they barely get paid and they don't live in a house and they're eating and drinking water from a river, but anything's possible. It's like,
right. Thank you. Yeah.
I think it's also a mindset. I think truly it's a mindset.
Again, I implore everybody on that end of the spectrum to go to that person that she just described and tell them, hey, dude, it's a mind, like, dressed exactly as they all are, you know, with the Thrasher hoodies and the designer earrings. Go like, hey, man, look, you can get out of here. It's all up here. It's true that there is a secret code that you go break the matrix and go to the public library and start your cryptocurrency. You started modeling at age 8. I don't think that it's impossible, but like you had a particularly easier chance to do so. So I think you think it's more possible.
Pause. Can you choose a side, if you can?
It's a hard question.
No, I'm staying in the middle.
Defend it.
I mean, I just haven't done research on third world countries, but if you, like, it is possible.
I could tell.
Again, you may have to take that 4-hour walk
to a public library to do what? Brother, you need to have the money to start a legal business. Even just to go on, like, say, Zen. Or like any other like legal business website, you need to have a certain level of income in order to establish the company. You know, like, yeah, it's possible. You got to take the 4-hour walk to the public library and then take the other 4-hour walk back to your job and then work your 16-hour shift and then go sleep on the street for the next 4 and then go back to the river to drink. Like, no, it's not possible there. You're very fortunate to have water bottles. You're very fortunate to have cell phones. You're very fortunate to have air conditioning. That certain conditions are just quite literally not bred to be successful, and especially when they don't look like you at your age.
But again, it's possible.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, she shifted me on this side because what she said is 100% true. You know, it is theoretically possible, you know, just, even though it isn't anyone can become a millionaire.
The person that he's describing would have to be a different person and have to be coming from a different economic situation. He would have to change who that guy is fundamentally as a person for him in order to make that person a millionaire. You know what I mean? That person's life is not set on those goals, you know? If some person's living out in the woods and self-sustaining themselves, that person can't make themselves a millionaire unless they fundamentally change their lifestyle, find a job, and then create the economic level of income in order to then pursue it, you know? You can't just pluck somebody out, plop them in, and then just be like, do it, you know? It doesn't just happen. And again, even if it was statistically possible to the very wildest variable, it's disheartening.
In real world scenario, that's not true. It's like saying, you know, what's the probability you roll a dice and then it lands on the edge instead of any other number?
Precisely, yeah. In a real world setting, we're talking about like maybe one human that will ever do that.
Yeah, I think I just recently took a trip back to Vietnam, and my parents immigrated from there, and I think I just realized that
I think the U.S. knows a lot of what happened there. I think a lot of people in this room might generationally profit from such.
You guys are talking about these online services make money, but a lot of places don't even have banks. They run on cash.
Precisely. Do you need a bank to be a millionaire?
No, because cash.
But then how are people going to, in those countries?
That's true.
Where do you keep it? There's so much that these people aren't taking into account. It's the most America-brained debate that they could be having. It's just like, no, like they clearly like have some idea of culture and is willing to move, which I respect him for moving on that point, because it is so true. You're very blessed to come from the situation that you come from, that you couldn't even imagine what it would be like to be somewhere else, especially at your age. Maybe after a bajillion years, someone might be able to scrounge themselves up by the bitter end of their lives to that, coming from the harshest situations at the absolute wildest statistical probability.
From one of those countries is get out of the country.
But you can't.
How, brother?
Just get out of the country. I'm somebody.
No, but you don't. It's like, bro, just charter the jet. That's the Coppola child response.
Yeah, I'm somebody that had to wait like 2 to 3 years to be able to get my visa, and now I'm granting my employees' visas, my parents' visas, and it's a very difficult process. People sit there and wait on their computers and pray one day that they can win the.
Absolutely.
They don't get their visas, and they realize, you know, this is gonna be my life for the rest of my life, and it's very hard on them.
Spitting.
Yeah, because America's straight.
I know a lot of immigrants myself that have came to the States or other countries, or
again, it's just so interesting to me that it's the inability to accept literal statistic fact. Like this is like, oh, do we trust math and do we trust scientists? No, right? I guess not, because you know some people.
Yeah, anyone could do anything that they want regardless of the circumstances if you have the will and the power and the drive to do so.
Well, the power, the drive, and the resources.
It isn't just about a mentality
It's
issue.
It's still
But come on.
It is for sure about the mentality, but it is also very much so about the resources, and it's possible if you can scrounge the resources, but it's more possible in America where those resources are available. And that's why you're on strongly agree.
We've all experienced different parts of life, very privileged parts of life.
Absolutely.
I think it's very hard to speak on something unless you've been there.
Right.
When you see it live, then you realize just how difficult it is and just how privileged we are. So it's easy for us to be like, they could just start oil or steel or whatever, but then another thing.
Just start modeling at age 8. Just start programming. What? Dude, just start e-commerce. What?
The government,
why aren't you drop shipping?
and
If you're on running water in the middle of Tibet, why aren't you drop shipping?
Where we are at, and the fact that we are teen millionaires, and that's a title because it's so rare, just goes to show the fact that it's vastly, vastly impossible for many people.
Thank you.
We all click so well, and we're honestly thinking of planning a trip.
Don't worry, guys. They're all thinking of planning a trip.